Well, Mike, in essence, it's really a one-year deal and basically $22 million fully guaranteed money. So it makes a lot more sense when you frame it in that way. And actually, the salary cap implications for this season are $12.5 million, which is actually less than his cap number from a season ago. So that tells you what kind of deal Howie Roseman cobbled together. As you move forward to 2017, the cap number shoots up to $23.5 million. So that's untenable. If Sam really plays well, plays at all pro level, and the Eagles make a run towards the Super Bowl, I suppose they could pay him that number, but at only if that happens. And any other indication, this is really kicking the can down the road 12 months, and we're going to be in the same spot next season discussing should the Eagles sign Sam Bradford or should they move on.
Yeah, so really the deal is kind of this 2-year, $18 million deal, but he's got all that money kind of up front into this year. So essentially it is a 1 year where he's getting a lot of this money, and then if he plays well, the Eagles are like, fine, you can come back next year.
Exactly. It's their option. It's not a good number, and as I said, I would find it very hard to believe outside of playing at an all-pro level they would want to bring him back at $23.5 million. But if you look at what happened in Baltimore today, there's a perfect indication because Joe Flacco years ago signs a big money contract. All of a sudden the cap numbers go up, but they understand they were going to have to renegotiate at that point. That's what you saw go on in Baltimore today, and that's what you'll see in Philadelphia. If the Eagles want Sam Bradford back next season, they'll more likely than not, after next season, they're more likely than not have to renegotiate and extend the deal again, and that's where we are. So basically, they bought time, which is what a lot of people thought they should do because that was the best option in the short term. But not a lot of people have confidence in Sam Bradford for the long term. And I think the evidence of this deal says the Eagles are in that camp, to be perfectly blunt. That's point A. Point B is it also indicates Sam Bradford didn't have much interest around this league because there was no long-term deal to be found. Tom Condon, his agent, is as ruthless as it gets when it comes to negotiations. And if there was a deal out there, he would have got it.
If they decide to move on from Bradford next year, I believe he's guaranteed $4 million, but what would the dead money hit be in that situation?
Dead money's about $9.5 million, so that's significant. It's not, you don't like to do that, but you can certainly do it. Remember, the salary cap went up $12 million from 2015 to 2016. If a similar thing happens again, and it's projected to go up, there's no question about that. You have another $12 million on top of it. Maybe it's a little bit less. So it's that number is not quite as disastrous as it looks, say, under last year's auspices. A lot of people talked about the Los Angeles Rams, and they wouldn't want to move on from Nick Foles because they have a $9 million dead cap hit. Well, the more space you get, the more likely it is to do it. The Eagles, again, it wouldn't be a great thing to do, and that's the one aspect of this deal that's probably not a home run for Howie Roseman, but it's certainly doable, especially when you consider the fact that the cap is going to keep moving up and up.
So, John, let me real quick just to clarify, the second year is a team option. Is that correct, or?
Well, in essence, it's a team option. In other words, it's not written in as a team option, but the way the contract is structured, it's basically $22 million fully guaranteed, and Sam's cap number is $12.5 million this year. So when we look at the big picture of it, and what the agent Tom Condon can claim is a $36 million deal, well, it's $12.5 million on the books. For 2016, 2017, that means there's a lot of money on the books. And the Eagles don't want to pay, say, the Sam Bradford of last season. There's no way they're going to pay him that. So they can walk away from the deal. But they have the option, if he hits a home run, if he plays an all-pro level, they can really, it's a team option because they have that safety sort of built in. The fact that if he does play off the charts and he does play at that type of level, the Eagles can just say, okay, we'll bring it back and we'll pay you that $23.5 million. But they can also easily walk away. So that, in essence, is a team option. This is really a one-year deal.
So from the Eagles' perspective, they basically were willing to pay him more money, monetarily reward him for whatever. I don't know, they like your last 7 games, he's got nice sleeves, whatever it may be, for him to take the lesser years.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head with the fact that you're paying.
Was it the sleeves? Was it the sleeves?
When you said it, well, the sleeves, when you said it yesterday. At a certain part, there is no middle class amongst NFL quarterbacks, and that's one of the weird things about this league. There's the haves and the have-nots. If you look at Washington yesterday, Kirk Cousins is a perfect example. He goes from $660,000 to $19.9 million. There's no in between. So if you have an average quarterback who's played enough years to get to his second contract, and that's where Sam Bradford is, you're going to get paid a significant amount of money. And that's what happened. But the fact that they didn't commit to him long term obviously indicates they feel that, A, there was a better option for 2016, and they don't necessarily feel that Sam Bradford's the better option for the long term moving forward. So those are the two things you can really take out of this contract.
Well, now, you said yesterday this also, and I agree, like I opened up today, John, but I really, my explanation of this deal is that the Eagles want to be relevant, and they feel that Bradford makes them relevant. They don't want to be a 4-win team, and they can also draft a guy, be relevant, have him play 2 years, and almost Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, let him walk and then have the guy that they want to groom, and that kind of jives with Peterson being the guy who groomed McNabb for 8 games. He was the guy who watched that happen, with Green Bay. So it seems that they want to be relevant for the 2 years while, they groom the guy that they really want.
Yeah, it's tough I think it's a little bit kind to compare Sam Bradford to Brett Favre.
Oh, well, he's not the same player.
I get the point behind it. No, you're right. It's clear. I still think they're going to draft a quarterback this year. It might not be at number 13 overall, but it might be. It might be in the 3rd round. They might try to trade back.
Well, doesn't this also make them, in a year that maybe you don't love a quarterback, you have Bradford now, as you mentioned yesterday, the bridge, an expensive bridge, but the bridge to help you fill the other holes that you need filled, and maybe that quarterback you like comes down the road.
Yeah, and, when you have more than a few deficiencies, we've talked about that in the past. You can't fix them all in one off season. So I think this is a mentality that you're right. The Philadelphia Eagles really, in this environment, people can talk about what the Sixers are doing, what the Phillies are doing. The Eagles are different. I don't think this fan base is going to accept 3 or 4 wins, as you mentioned. So they do want to be relevant. And they do realize they're in a bad division as a whole. And if they can if they got 1 or 2 more wins last season, they win that division. So it's not like they're far away from being a playoff team. So I think they're trying for the best of both worlds, and they're trying for the short-term fix while trying to groom the eventual long-term answer. Whether it works out, we'll have to wait and see. But it's plainly evident that they don't think Sam Bradford's the long-term answer. So that's the one aspect of this deal you have to at least show a little caution about because, in the negotiations, Mike, behind the scenes, Tom Condon and Sam Bradford are well aware that the Eagles were playing hardball, and they called their bluff and thought they didn't have another deal outside the organization, and they didn't get what they wanted. So they know that in the back of their mind. Whether that affects Sam,
why were they willing?
Doesn't.
Why were they willing to not at least wait another week then?
Because there was no deal out there. There was no team that was going to even go near.
Well, what if Osweiler leaves Denver? Cousins, well, he signed early in the day, so that wasn't going to happen. But, I mean, Houston doesn't get who they ended up targeting. I mean, you don't feel that, yeah, maybe my deal's not there, but couldn't the landscape changed a little bit for Bradford? I mean, does it suggest that maybe he wanted to be here?
Yeah, I mean, it could have changed. I don't think there's any question about that because you're right. Houston being the perfect example. I had two different sources say 2 weeks ago the Texans had no interest. Now, that changes if Plan A doesn't work, Plan B doesn't work, Plan C doesn't work. Mm-hmm. But you have to look at that from Sam Bradford's side of the coin. If the fact that the Texans are down to Plan D, and that's Sam Bradford, for example, well, they're not going to be offering $18 million or $22 million guaranteed. That's going to be at the part of the process where they say we're settling, and maybe it's a $10 million, $11 million deal. The one thing about Tom Condon, you can guarantee and take to the bank, he got every cent possible for Sam Bradford. He's not the kind of guy who's going to do a team. He's going to do a team-friendly deal. He's always looking out for his client first and foremost. And when he took the temperature of other teams in Indianapolis, he realized the market just wasn't there for Sam Bradford, and this was the best part for him. I've seen a lot of people paint this as a compromise. This is not a compromise. The Philadelphia Eagles won this contract negotiation, and there's no question about that.
Okay, well then, so I was going to ask you, would it be better to just have franchised them? I mean, are you paying them? You only tied them for 1 year then.
No, the reason it wasn't better to franchise them is because you have $19.9 million on this year's cap. So remember, on this year's cap, Sam Bradford's number actually goes down from last year. So the Eagles actually got an extra $500,000 in room.
That makes sense.
If say, Bradford was coming back at the same number. So as far as the cap goes, by signing him to a 2-year deal, you get to spread that signing bonus over that 2 years, and all of a sudden, instead of 19.9, the cap number is 12.5. That's the reason for the second year, and that's the reason why I say, in essence, this is a 1-year make-good deal, and if the Eagles have to, they'll just walk away after this season.
All right, John McMullen, 97.3 ESPN.com. Now, Bradford's in the mix, which basically, as you said, they can draft a guy, let him sit for 2 years, and kind of groom him to be the next guy. It tells me, too, John, that they didn't want Peterson to fall on his face the first year after the mess of Kelly, and then, he was questioned around the league. Where did Peterson come from? A lot of people thought he was just, Andy Reid. They wanted to find a guy to give him the best chance to be successful in year number one. They had to think that was Bradford.
Yeah, and I think Doug thought it was Bradford. I think he was a part of this, and the fact that convincing Sam that this would be a good situation for him and that he could fit in this offense. Because you're right. You look at Ken Wisenhunt in Nashville, and I don't know anybody who doesn't think Wisenhunt's a really good coach, especially with quarterbacks. But the fact that he went to coach a bad team, ended up 2-14, then he got saddled with a guy with the second overall pick that everybody loves. Well, we know how rookie quarterbacks struggle in this league, and that's exactly what happened with Marcus Mariota. He doesn't even last through his second season, Ken Wisenhunt. And if Doug Peterson comes in and wins 3 or 4 games with a rookie quarterback, the clock is already ticking, and people just have short attention spans in today's NFL environment. They're not accepting of it. They're certainly not going to be accepting of that in Philadelphia. So, yeah, I think they wanted to be competitive. Not only Doug, but also Howie Roseman, because Howie's back.
Yeah,
and
a lot
of people.
Yeah, go ahead. No,
yeah,
that's right. The
Roseman
thing is good, but I also think, John, this also signifies that with the Schwartz hire, that they have a lot of value on their defense, and in this league, that if you have a good defense, you only need a good quarterback. You don't need a great one.
Yeah, there's no question. I think when we talk about this off season, and we're really still early, we haven't gotten the free agency, we haven't gotten the draft, but the best move the Eagles have made since it began, and they've made a lot of good ones, the best is hiring Jim Schwartz. And I think it's going to be the best at the end of this offseason. The fact that they have, you talk to people around this league, one of the 3 or 4 best defensive coordinators in football coming in with some significant talent, and he's going to take advantage of it. So I think this team goes, they think they're the best team in the NFC East. And that's what the Eagles' mentality is with Sam Bradford. With a rookie quarterback, they might be set up better for 2017, 2018, especially if it's a Paxton Lynch or somebody of that nature. But they knew for this season they were not going to be very good. And I think this is what that indicates more than anything else.
John McMullen, 97.3 ESPN.com, has a deeper look at this contract situation for Philadelphia. And, with Bradford on board now, is this – some people have wondered, John, do you view this as a show-me deal, that he's getting a chance now to now that Kelly's gone, that he now becomes the Eagles guy, that Roseman is endorsing him, and that he's getting his opportunity to prove – is he playing for an extension from the Eagles as well?
Yeah, yes. This is a make-good deal. And this, as I said, this is kicking the can down the road 12 months. Now, most people, when I say that, automatically assume that means the Eagles want to get rid of Sam Bradford in 12 months. Not necessarily. That's where the team option comes in. They have the option. They have control over Sam Bradford for another season if he plays well.
So if he plays well, the Eagles would be open to signing him long-term, in your opinion.
Oh, sure. If he plays at a Pro Bowl level and say they finish 11-5, they win a playoff game, they win the NFC East, yeah, I think they'll open negotiations for a longer-term deal. I don't think it's very unlikely, unless Sam's side plays hardball, that if Sam plays really, really well, that he's just going to play under the terms of the current deal in that second year. I think in that scenario, I think the Eagles renegotiate. They extended it. They give him a long-term deal. And that's why I say this is basically either way, whether he plays poorly or he plays well, this thing is going to be revisited again next March.
All right, John's got more at 97.3ESPN.com. It's an interesting deal. And as you said, John, a couple of moments ago, you think the Eagles clearly won this deal.
Yeah, I mean, when you go back to Tom Condon, what is the first number that was thrown out there? We all chuckled.
$25 million.
But it was real, $25 million. And there's no question he wanted $20 million per year, and he wanted significant years, whether it's 4 or 5 years, and that's not what they got. And as I said, Tom Condon's reputation is the fact that he's going to get every single penny out there for his particular client. He does it time and time again. He got it in this case. There just wasn't a lot of interest in Sam Bradford around this league.
All right, more from John at 97.3ESPN.com. Good stuff. All right, pal. Take care.
Hey, thanks, Mike.